And now it's my turn. I was speaking to a user group not too long ago, and we were discussing Windows PowerShell's desired state configuration. Now, if you don't care about that technology, that's fine. This is still applicable. Several people in the audience kind of shrugged and said, "This stuff sounds cool, but I'll never get to use it at my company, so it doesn't really matter to me." That statement and the attitude behind it just infuriates me. If you're not excited by learning new things just because they're cool and fun to play with, why the heck are you in IT? Is it because someone told you that you could make a lot of money if you got your MCSZYX? Who cares what your company does? If something's cool sounding, why not play with it? Look, let's start by getting a couple of things straight. First up is your job. This is the thing you go to most days of the week and get paid for. You have to know the stuff that the job needs and nothing more. The job, in some cases, is happy if you never learn anything new. Some jobs are a lot more demanding, obviously, but whatever. It's the job. Next up is your career. This is a different thing. It isn't owned by your employer, it's owned by you. Your career doesn't make you any money at all, not one dime. But your career is there for you when you need a job. If you get sick of your current job, or you get laid off, or a better opportunity comes along, it's your career that fills out your resume, gets you the interview, and lands you some paying work. If you're confronted by a technology, tool, or technique that's obviously important, obviously game-changing, and obviously cool, then it's your career that needs to be learning about it and playing with it, even if your job doesn't. You may have a job that doesn't require a lot of care or feeding, but your career is always hungry and it needs your attention. What if your current company wakes up one day, confronts reality, and realizes that they need to implement some new, for them, technology? What if their requirements shift drastically, such that your job now requires you to know those things? You've just put yourself at risk by having not kept up. But if you'd been feeding your career all along, then you'd be ready to step up, solve the problem, and ask for a raise. Look, I know it's hard to keep up, both from a pure education perspective and from a getting to play with it perspective. It's easier for developers, right? Any decently powered machine can run just about anything they need. But for us ops people, labs can be a serious financial expense. In my job as a curriculum director for Pluralsight, I really don't need to have a deep level of technical expertise. It's more of a high-level job. But does that mean I'm bowing out of having deep technical expertise? Heck no. Here's what I do in 2 easy steps, in case it can help you. Step 1, I learn constantly, but only for an hour or so a day. I read a few blogs, I watch a few education videos by authors that I respect and trust, and that helps me keep up at a high level. And it shows me where to dedicate my deep dive time. That time comes during lunch and sometimes in the evenings, or on a plane or a train. It's when I'm reading books, because I'm old-fashioned, or watching videos. Step 2, I build a lab. I used to use cloudshare.com for a lot of stuff because it's incredibly easy and it costs about $1,000 a year for essentially unlimited use of a whole bunch of lab VMs that I can set up any way I want. Yeah, that's not cheap, and no, my employer did not pay for it. But I think of it as the grocery bill for my career's hunger. I also have an on-prem lab that I'm using more and more these days. My latest iteration is a $400 Gigabyte Bricks ultra-compact PC. It has terrible graphics, and I don't care because I never even have a monitor attached. It's just a virtualization host. It's got an SSD drive, which is speedy enough for my needs, and about 32 gigs of RAM, which lets me run a whole bunch of VMs at once. I think the whole kit ran well under $1,000, so it basically paid for itself since it replaced cloudshare.com. So the point is that it shouldn't matter what you do on the job. Think about your career. Feed it. Nurture it. And if you start to think that your career is way too big to fit in your current job, well, then it's time to have some talks and make some decisions, isn't it? You're going to start seeing some marketing campaigns coming out of Pluralsight around the idea of smarter than yesterday. And I want you to take that to heart. Learn a little bit every day. And if you don't have a Pluralsight subscription or something like it, I want you to consider one. Last I looked, a personal subscription costs about $300 a year. If you're making $80,000 in your job, that's less than 0.5% of your salary to make sure you'll still have a job in 5 years or if something happens to your current job. This is your career you're playing with. Don't bemoan what you can or can't do in your current job. Stay focused on your career. Of course, that's just my perspective. I hope you'll share yours, and you can reach me on Twitter at ConcentratedDon. And that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks to our guests for their comments, and I'll see you again next month.